Our country has a truly great new Supreme Court justice. We're very honored by it. He's an outstanding man, an outstanding person. What they put him and his family through, the Democrats, over the last few weeks is horrible. If you look at what he's had to endure, horrible, false statements, it doesn't get any worse. But the beautiful thing is he is now in. He's going to be there for a long time, and he's just an outstanding intellect, outstanding scholar, brilliant lawyer, brilliant at everything he's ever done. So we're very happy, and the vote was a great vote, a very historic vote. I just spoke to him 2 minutes ago, and I spoke to the justice's family, and he's so excited. So we have now Justice Kavanaugh, and he's a terrific man, terrific person. I just congratulated him. I said, congratulations, it was well fought. I mean, who would have thought a thing like that could have happened, what he's been through? Everything was uncorroborated. I want to thank the FBI. I thought the FBI was incredible. They worked hard and they worked really fast. And I hear the report was really a detailed, thorough, professional report. So I want to thank them. I want to thank the Justice Department, because they were working along with the FBI really hard, really fast. And I think this actually, the extra week delay was a terrific thing for the process. So we have a great new Supreme Court justice, and he's going to be there for many years. We are very, very proud of him and what he and his family had to endure. And it's a great testament, and it's a testament also to our country. I'm going to make a speech. I'll be talking about it a little bit. I know you'll all be there. So thank you very much. Thank you.
President Trump,
no, not at all. No. Great talent, great man. Thank you.
When President Trump says he had to go through, he's 53 years old, he could be on the court 25, 30 years from now, and that's a generation worth of decisions by him that the conservatives who helped to choose him think are going to go their way and are going to move the court in the direction they want to see it go. For more on this, let's check in with Chief White House Correspondent John Roberts on the North Lawn. John, your thoughts?
No question he's going to be there for a long time to come, unless some Democrats who are already threatening to get their way, and if they win the House of Representatives in November, begin an investigation of Judge Kavanaugh, and then, as some have threatened, move toward impeachment proceedings. But don't forget, the last time that a judge was impeached was in 1805, and that judge was acquitted by the Senate. So there has been no Supreme Court judge who has been removed by process of impeachment. You saw the president there as he came down the stairs. He also talked at length with the pool during the vote and after the vote. And there's a couple of things he said during that conversation that he did not talk about there at the bottom of the steps, saying that Judge Kavanaugh was chosen for reason of his temperament, his incredible past, his outstanding years on the court, outstanding record, brilliant scholar. He did say that he was able to withstand this horrible attack by the Democrats, as the president put it, a horrible attack that nobody should have gone through. He expressed similar sentiments there at the bottom of the steps. The president also said during the interview with the pool aboard Air Force One that he is 100%, I have no doubt that Christine Blasey Ford was mistaken, that her attacker was Brett Kavanaugh. The president had taken some heat earlier in the week when he gave that speech in the northern part of Mississippi at a campaign rally in which he appeared, by many estimations, to be mocking Christine Blasey Ford and her claims before the Senate last Thursday. That brought a sharp reaction from Susan Collins, for one, Lindsey Graham for another, members of his own party. But the president believes that that was an important turning point, telling the pool, quote, "I think the Mississippi speech had a great impact. Yes, I think it was an important thing, because what it did seem to do was galvanize support among the president's base for Judge Kavanaugh, create an extra little bit of momentum, and create some doubt in Christine Blasey Ford's story, perhaps a little more doubt than was in there before. The White House insisting that the president was only pointing out the facts and was not mocking Ms. Ford. The president did have something to say about Susan Collins, said that he loved her speech, that he has a tremendous amount of respect for her, but also said that Lisa Murkowski of Alaska will likely never recover from her no vote, and that the people of Alaska will never forgive her. She's not up for re-election until 2022, so memories tend to be short in politics, so we'll see what happens then. Chris, Jen?
All right. John Roberts live at the White House. Thank you very much. And still about 30 days to the midterms, and people wonder if they'll remember this and have these emotions 30 days from now, much less 4 years from now. All right. We saw the enthusiasm in Topeka at the Supreme Court. U.S. Capitol Police, we told, are now moving in. You see much greater numbers than you saw a short time ago, starting to clear some of the protesters off. I see a combination there of Supreme Court Police and U.S. Capitol Police. They had a number of protesters there taken to the steps and gone up towards the front door of the Supreme Court, somewhere that we normally do not see these crowds allowed to go. It seems the two police forces are now working together to send these folks down back towards the sidewalk, which traditionally, big cases, big days. We see that street there, First Street Northeast, in front of the Supreme Court, and the sidewalks on either side. Just across the street is the U.S. Capitol. We see them filled with people, but normally they don't advance up onto the stairs. So as we see the Supreme Court and U.S. Capitol Police working together, it appears they are now pushing back the protesters. Whether that is with counseling, whether there are any arrests underway, we don't know at this point, but we'll keep an eye on the live situation.
I got to say, though, Shannon, it's pretty peaceful. As somebody who grew up in the Vietnam protests, it looks more to me like the police are ushering them off the steps.
I would say so. I mean, because as Leland, who's been in the middle of this crowd all day, has been saying, nobody's acting violent. I mean, people are obviously very spirited and chanting, but he hasn't seen anything out of line other than, as we said earlier, being in a spot maybe they're not normally allowed to be in, but other than that, rather restrained.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, Republicans are praising the integrity of Judge Kavanaugh, while Democrats are warning that this has been a damaging fight. Fox News contributor and Democratic strategist Doug Schoen and GOPAC chairman David Avella are joining us now. Let me, Doug, begin with you.
Sure.
Your thoughts about how this is playing out. We've heard fairly convincing arguments on both sides. This is energizing the Democratic base, which is already energized. You heard Mitch McConnell say earlier, this has been a tremendous political gift to Republicans because it was a real enthusiasm gap, and that has closed. As a pollster, what do you say?
Well, I think something you said a little earlier, Chris, is my conclusion now, and we have 30 days to go, so things could change. I've looked at all the Senate polling, and it looks like the Republicans in the last week or so have picked up a point or two in most of the key races. What I see in the House races is, if any movement, it's to the Democrats. More races are in play, and I think suburban women will probably break for the Democrats to a greater degree. But again, I wait to see the polls a week, 10 days from now to let this play out. But at this point, I think it's impossible to reach a definitive conclusion.
Let me say on the left side of the screen as you're talking, Doug, it looks like there's at least one protester who got arrested, but all the others seem to have left the steps willingly and voluntarily. David, let me bring you in and your thoughts about how this plays politically.
Early voting needs to be the rallying cry for Republicans now. This is the first year that early voting could favor Republicans because the base is so fired up. Doug will not be surprised, but I may differ with him slightly in that I have seen polling in 4 battleground states, Indiana, Missouri, North Dakota, and West Virginia, where Republicans have now taken the lead in 3 of those states, and the lead in North Dakota has gotten even bigger for Republicans. We need to take advantage of this momentum. Most states allow early voting, and every campaign that is smart is going to have a good early vote strategy and to capture the enthusiasm that this hearing has caused for Republican voters.
Yeah, Doug and David, I want to ask you both about the same thing, just the unification that's happened here, because Lindsey Graham said it the other day. The Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, when Chris and I talked with him a couple of hours ago, said the same thing. This has unified Republicans in a way that Democrats or that Republicans themselves really couldn't have done. We think about so-called never-Trumpers. Bret Stephens, who writes at the New York Times, he describes himself that way. And then he penned this piece this week talking about how grateful he is for President Trump, saying in part, "I'm grateful because Trump is not backed down in the face of slipperiness, hypocrisy, and dangerous standard setting deployed by opponents of Brett Kavanaugh's nomination to the Supreme Court." Doug, to you first, how long does that unification stick?
Well, I think that's a good question. It's how long the unification sticks, but also, will 30 days from now people be voting on the Kavanaugh confirmation? I had felt for the Republicans it actually would have been politically better electorally if Kavanaugh was not confirmed, but we will see. Certainly, David is not wrong to say that there are signs of momentum for Republicans in the 4 states he mentioned and others. But again, we're talking about races, Shannon, that are within the margin of error. And as I think it was you or Chris said, memories are very short, sometimes a matter of days and weeks. So we'll see if this is the determinative issue or one of them within a month or so.
Yeah, and you're looking live on your screen before I go to you, David. One of the protesters who've been at the Supreme Court has climbed up onto one of the statues that is there that is part of the entrance to the court. It appears she is coming down of her own volition now as we continue to watch that situation with U.S. Capitol Police and Supreme Court Police appearing to work together there. David, to you, do you think 30 days, you talked about early voting and how important that is. Do you think 30 days is enough to keep folks who call themselves never Trumpers together with folks who were always on the Trump train?
Yes, because the rallying cry now for progressives is impeachment. Not just President Trump, but also now Brett Kavanaugh. This is Tom Steyer and George Soros's worst nightmare. They are spending their life fortunes to stop a conservative agenda from occurring. And the Republican Congress with the president continue to pass conservative ideas. There's now a conservative majority on the court. This is what they're going to be pounding. And so for Republican voters, the message becomes very clear. Do you want a country where your ideas are mocked, where people get in your face and scream at you, where you can't go to a restaurant without being harassed? That's what this election now starts to become about.
Well, we're gonna leave it there. We should also point out, for all this talk about 30 days, in fact, as you both pointed out, people are voting right now.
Right,
so, and in a lot of states, I was just talking to the senator from Colorado, Cory Gardner. He says 70% of people will have voted before Election Day. So this is a moving process, and a lot of these people are voting right now. Thank you both.
Thank you.
As protests continue at the Supreme Court and President Trump prepares for his Topeka rally, Judge Brett Kavanaugh becomes Justice Kavanaugh tonight.
Yeah, we're going to get reaction from Senator Joni Ernst. She was a yes vote. She's right after the break. Stick around. Welcome back to our special coverage today. A lot of moving parts at this hour. The president preparing for his MAGA rally in Topeka, while the protests at the Supreme Court have taken a bit of a turn as the Capitol and Supreme Court police are working together to get the protests off those steps, we believe.
They seem to be headed off those steps. They're down at the bottom right now. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell talked about all the tension before the vote in his final closing Senate speech today. Take a look.
These things always blow over. And I think even though there may have been some anger expressed during this particular fight, as I just said, at the very same time, I know it wasn't very newsworthy for you guys because they won by big margins. We were doing important things together that hadn't been done in a long time.
Judge Kavanaugh could be sworn in any time. And now let's go to one of the senators who put Judge Kavanaugh over the top today, Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa. Senator, good to have you with us.
Oh, thanks so much. It's great to be with you.
So what do you hope the impact of Justice Kavanaugh is on the court? How do you hope with this, what would appear to be a solid 5-vote, 5-justice conservative majority, how the court will change?
Well, I think with any justice that has been confirmed to serve on the Supreme Court of the United States, hope that they will follow the Constitution and uphold the law. That's all we can expect. And I do know that he is eminently qualified and he will do well for the United States of America.
As a woman, how did you see what has happened over the last 2 weeks? I'm sure you believe deeply in the Me Too movement and the right of accusers to be heard. Obviously, there was a sharp difference of opinion, however, on how seriously the Senate took Christine Blasey Ford. Your thoughts on that?
Well, absolutely. I do support the Me Too movement. I do believe that accusers should be heard. And Dr. Ford was heard. We know that, at least I know that there was some trauma at some point in her life. She had very compelling testimony. However, there was no corroboration, even amongst the witnesses that she brought forward. Absolutely no corroboration to the story that she had shared. But what I am is an American first. And as an American first, I do believe that we are innocent until proven guilty. These allegations should be taken seriously. They were taken seriously. Hence the 7th FBI investigation done on Judge Kavanaugh. And again, it came back with no wrongdoing on the part of Judge Kavanaugh.
Senator, you come from Iowa, a state that is very politically savvy. All of us here have spent many hours and days and weeks on the campaign trail there. And every Iowan you meet is very, very well informed about what's going on here in the Beltway and beyond. What kind of reaction and feedback were you getting from your constituents through this process?
Well, there is a silent majority out there that strongly believes in just what I said, that we are innocent until proven guilty. Our nation was founded on these ideals and values. I think it's very important that we remember that. So many people were very upset at the way Judge Kavanaugh was treated, the way his family was dragged through the mud, the implications surrounding that. So we have to understand that there are two sides to every story. And unfortunately, the public opinion amongst some was that you can throw out an allegation and just run with it. And in a situation like this, absolutely, we have to get to the bottom of it. And we did through the FBI investigations.
Senator Ernst, thank you for your time this evening. Very, very nice to have you with us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Have a good night.
You too.
We are now just about an hour away from the president's big rally in Topeka, Kansas. The president has signed his written commission. All Judge Kavanaugh has to do now is take two oaths, one to the Constitution, one to the judiciary, and he will be officially new Supreme Court Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Live coverage continues next. The court, but Shannon, we've talked a lot in the last few days about Steve Daines, the senator from Montana, who decided that he had pressing obligations. He left the Senate, went back to Montana to walk his daughter down the aisle. My son is having his engagement party. I've already missed half an hour.
You're late.
I'm already half an hour late, and it's going to take at least a half an hour to get there. I am leaving, but I am not leaving you alone. To help you get to the finish line, Ed Henry is in New York. Ed?
Chris,
help Shannon, although she doesn't need it.
Shannon, I
See
just
you
wish
later.
I had a private jet or something like that.
That's how he's getting to the party. That's how he's getting to the party. It's here in town. The helicopter.
Well, Mr. Sunday has to get up early and get back to work tomorrow, so he's not going far. But by the way, Chris, before you go, I want to note, I haven't heard people talk about this, but you were the person back in October of 2016 who put the Supreme Court front and center in that third and final presidential debate. And it was an important issue then, and as we're all seeing now, an important issue now as well.
Well, it's true. And one of the reasons I did it is because, believe it or not, in the first two debates, there had not been a single mention of the Supreme Court. So it was the very first question I asked, the first 15 minutes we spent, and there was a very sharp difference between President Trump's vision for the kind of justice that he would appoint and Hillary Clinton's vision for the kind of justice she would appoint. Clearly, that was an issue. And, you know, my feeling for all of the fuss back and forth, elections have consequences, as Barack Obama said. We saw it today.
All right. Chris, best to your family. Enjoy the engagement. Shannon, I'll be back with you in a moment. In the meantime, let me give you a little preview of what we're going to do top of the hour. Fox Report, based right here in New York City. As Chris just mentioned, you're still seeing the fallout from now Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who the president signed the paperwork officially on Air Force One on his way to Kansas, where he has a MAGA rally. We'll be showing that in the 7 p.m. Eastern hour. He has a big gubernatorial race he's looking at, as well as a couple of important House races as well. We're going to be talking to all of our live reporters stationed around Washington, the White House, the Congress, but also now the Supreme Court. Those protests still playing out. You can see a couple hundred or so people there. The president talking to reporters a short time ago about how it's less people than he'll actually have at his rally in Kansas. The president also saying that he's proud of Brett Kavanaugh, knows he's going to be on the Supreme Court for a long time to come, a chance for him to reshape the high court. November. That's why the stakes were so high. And as we've seen this drama play out in recent weeks, particularly yesterday with that procedural vote, and then today with the final vote on the Senate floor, both sides making their case. Here's how it played out.
The Republicans have succeeded in confirming a deeply flawed and dangerous nominee only by breaking all the rules and the norms. The damage done today will be enduring to the United States Supreme Court and to our country.
He will make the Senate and the country proud. He will serve with distinction on our highest court. He unquestionably deserves confirmation, and the country deserves such a Supreme Court justice.
From start to finish, President Trump's nomination of Brett Kavanaugh to the United States Supreme Court has been one of the saddest moments in the history of the Senate. When the history of the Senate is written, this chapter will be a flashing red warning light of what to avoid.
He has interpreted the Constitution according to text, history, and tradition, not his own personal views. And that is exactly the type of a person we need on the Supreme Court.
So we will dig deeper at the top of the hour for Fox Report. We'll also have Judge Jeanine Pirro. She's going to have a little preview of her interview with the president. She's supposed to talk to the president at 9 p.m. Eastern live after this MAGA rally. So we'll take the MAGA rally. We'll talk to Judge Jeanine, and I'll toss it back to you for now, Shannon.
All right, we will see you at 7 o'clock. Ed Henry, thank you very much. All right, wow, what a ride it has been. 14 weeks of acrimony over justice considered a centrist by some Republicans, like Senator Susan Collins. Brett Kavanaugh's nomination process marks one of the most controversial in Supreme Court history. So let's take a look back at Judge Brett Kavanaugh's long path to the Supreme Court of the United States.
It is my honor and privilege to announce that I will nominate Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the United States Supreme Court.
No president has ever consulted more widely or talked with more people from more backgrounds to seek input about a Supreme Court nomination. Mr. President, I am grateful to you, and I'm humbled by your confidence in me.
I'm going to fight this nomination with everything I've got.
You are either complicit in the evil or you are fighting against it.
Going to have a thorough process. Hopefully it's efficient. We get it done quickly. But it's going to be thorough and going to be done right.
Mr. Chairman, if we cannot be recognized, I move to adjourn.
The American people.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
Directly from Judge Kavanaugh later this afternoon.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
I don't know that the committee should have to put up with this type of insolence that's going on in this room today. And frankly, these people are so out of line, they shouldn't even be allowed in the doggone room.
I'm going to release the email about racial profiling. And I understand that the penalty comes with potential ousting from the Senate. This is about the closest I'll probably ever have in my life to an I am Spartacus moment.
So far, it's pretty much been an intergalactic freak show.
The bitter confirmation battle over Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh takes a new turn, involving an allegation of sexual misconduct decades ago.
Her name is Christine Blasey Ford, now a 51-year-old professor at Palo Alto University in California. She reportedly says Kavanaugh pinned her to a bed and attacked her.
I've never sexually assaulted anyone. I was not at the party described. I was not anywhere at any place resembling that.
I want to have both individuals come before the Senate Judiciary Committee and testify under oath. If Judge Kavanaugh has lied about what happened, that would be disqualifying.
Dr. Ford, with what degree of certainty do you believe Brett Kavanaugh assaulted you?
100%.
None of these allegations are true.
Correct.
No doubt in your mind.
0. I'm 100% certain.
I believed he was going to rape me. I tried to yell for help. When I did, Brett put his hand over my mouth, and I thought that Brett was accidentally going to kill me.
This whole 2-week effort has been a calculated and orchestrated political hit, fueled with apparent pent-up anger about President Trump and the 2016 election. This is a circus.
Can you tell us that your staff did not leak it?
Oh, I don't believe my staff would leak it. I have not asked that question directly. Jennifer reminds me I've asked her before about it.
Well,
and that's true.
Well, somebody leaked it if it wasn't you.
Well, it was, I'm telling you, it was not. I did not.
Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham. That you knew about it and you held it. You had no intention of protecting Dr. Ford. None. You're looking for a fair process? You came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend.
Right now, turn to your left in the front row. To Don McGahn, counsel to President Donald Trump. Ask him to suspend this hearing and nomination process until the FBI completes its investigation.
I welcome whatever the committee wants to do because I'm telling the truth.
I want to know what you want to do.
I'm telling the truth.
I want to know what you want to do, Judge.
I'm innocent.
You're telling me that my assault doesn't matter. That what happened to me doesn't matter. And that you're going to let people who do these things into power. That's what you're telling me when you vote for him.
I think it would be proper to delay the floor vote for up to but not more than 1 week in order to let the FBI continue to do an investigation limited in time and scope.
The end of the day is with my conscience. I could not conclude that he is the right person for the court at this time.
Mr. President, I will vote to confirm Judge Kavanaugh.
You can sound about very much concerned with it.
The Sergeant at Arms will restore order in the gallery. On this vote, the ayes are 50, the nays are 48. The nomination of Brett M. Kavanaugh of Maryland to be an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States is confirmed.
Well, it is now Justice Kavanaugh. We just got new pictures of the ceremonies. We're going to bring them to you right after this break.